There's a community that seems to form around people who garden. And I have seen it, and I feel like I'm just personally kind of coming into said community. And in fact, Farmer Joey at Ceres just 2 weeks ago said, "Diana, you really are becoming a gardener." And I had the biggest smile. I was like, "Thank you." And what I'm learning about gardening is that it is not just about your own effort or your own plot of dirt. There's this deep joy in the way that gardeners share with one another. And sometimes it's sharing of stories, and sometimes it's sharing of wisdom, or, "Oh yes, that happened to me." You know, there's a wisdom that kind of gets passed along. And sometimes that sharing is a literal pack of seeds, or a little plant, or large plants. And I have yet to hear a gardener say, "Oh, well, and like, take this, please take this." It's never, "This is $5.75. Wouldn't you like it?" It's about community, right? It's about sharing these little pieces, these seeds, these little saplings and kids that they are to gardeners, and giving them out and letting them come back to you. And there is just this joy that gardeners and gardener types seem to have around this whole process of sharing stuff and just sharing in what it is to have your hands in the dirt. Now, if you're not a gardening person, you might not know this, but one of the big seed companies just released their fall magazine a few weeks ago. And those of us who received said magazines, yeah, I'm hearing some laughter, yes. The Heirloom Seed Company came out, and people are just buzzing when this one comes out. Lindsay actually knows. Like, I was in the back of the house, and Lindsay's like, "You got really important mail. You want to see this one?" And I thought, I don't know of any kind of package that's coming. And I was like, "What is this?" And Lindsay's like, "Oh, you know what it is." And I had forgotten, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh." And she lost me for like an hour. Don't know what happened after that. Turning the pages of all the beautiful flowers and the anticipation of what this could be. But that's not it, right? It's then talking to the next person who got the seed company catalog and says, "What did you see this year?" And then having the whole conversation of, "Well, if I give these seeds, I'll trade you for some of those. Can we swap?" And on and on and on it goes. And it will continue when these little seeds become saplings or, germinate. And there's too many for this bed, and you can't quite commit to putting one more plant in the ground in that section. You got to find someone else who can. And thus the sharing starts, and that will continue until we get back to seeds again next fall. And it's not just people and their seeds, right? And seed catalogs and seed banks. It's birds and squirrels who are there to help. And they will appear seeds, and they will eat things for you. And they are helping to choose and to curate what is in your part of the world. And this one author, Ross Gay, puts it that gardens, and those who tend them, are inherently built on systems of mutual aid and sharing. There's a contagious nature to gardening. There's never enough plants, and there's always too many plants, and there is a constant shuffling of seeds and plants from one place to the next, so that even if you carefully plot out what you're going to do, I guarantee by the end of the season it will look a little different and have a couple of extra things in it, because that's how this works. Someone will pass you a tomato plant or try, and someone will also have an extra seed from a something, right? And there's a lot of joy in that, then walking through that garden and going, "Oh yeah, that was from the seed catalog, and that was from John, and that was from Farmer Joey, and that was," right? And you kind of see where this becomes a communal event, and there is great joy in that. And now if you say to me, "Oh, but Diana, I'm a solo gardener." Okay, well, let us not forget that you're really not doing it all by yourself. I mean, not only are there those squirrels and birds that drop things and eat things, There's also bacteria and worms and sun and rain and all sorts of other natural processes to be in relationship with. And there is a joy to be found, to be in that relationship with the earth and with nature, and some other humans, if that's your thing, or not. But for all involved, there is a system of sharing and mutual aid that goes in to that garden. And that joy, that gardening joy, is something that I love, and I love about this community that I'm entering into, because it's just joyful and contagious. I've been upset about my garden, but other people aren't. They're joyful to get the opportunity to talk about what they did to remedy the situation when it was in their yard, right? And here we are in our scripture today of two people, maybe not gardeners, but two women who are coming together to share what they know. And we open with Elizabeth, who is our elderly matron, and she is pregnant, finally. And her husband has become mute. And there seems to be no one around to share the good news. And in fact, Elizabeth does what seems to be the opposite of sharing her joy. Instead, our text says she isolates herself for 5 months. And I wonder, don't you, what that 5 months was like? I wonder if she had questions. It sounds like she may have had her own angelic visit. We don't know. But I wonder what it was like for her to get the news. I wonder if she asked questions like, does the Lord know how old I am? And also maybe a little, we've been wanting kids for a really long time, and now you're going to give them to us? And also, this is a woman who has just been carrying an awful lot of shame in the community for not being able to bear children. And I bet that over time and over the years, that has caused her to be really weary. And that sometimes is hard to let go of, even when there is great rejoicing at hand. And I wonder if she wanted to wait, right, until she gets to month 6 before she shared her news, just to make sure everything's going to go okay. I wonder how she was doing physically. Yeah, someone's like, yeah. Morning sickness and big emotional swings, and it's harder, I hear, if you're older, to be a mom going through that. Yep. Or was it different? And was she having a great pregnancy? And she was just filled with joy, and it was her and God and the baby, and who knows where Zechariah went, because he couldn't talk and he's not in the story, we don't know. And maybe she was just savoring every moment. Maybe. There are lots of possibilities. We don't know. We don't hear her questions, but we do hear her resolve. And in one translation she says, "This is what the Lord has done for me, when he looked favorably on me and took away the disgrace I have endured among my people." And that tells us a little bit that she saw this as a turning point. And then all of a sudden, Mary is at her door. And we don't know how Mary got there. We don't know if she went by herself. Did she have a donkey? Did she walk? How far along is she? We have so many questions. But it sounds like Mary sought Elizabeth out because she knew that they were both entwined in this God plot. And I wonder what Mary's internal dialogue was doing. How can this be? I am not yet married. I'm too young. How am I going to tell my dad? How am I going to tell Joseph? I wonder, has she told Joseph? Did she dodge him on her way out of town? Or did he give her a donkey and say, go see Elizabeth? Was the shame of being pregnant in her culture overwhelming? Did it make her weary? Or was she savoring each moment? For she knew this was an extra special gift. Again, we don't know, but we witness her resolve as she travels to visit her older family member. And when these two cousins come face to face, there is recognition, there is celebration, and there is great joy in their sharing with each other. And that connection is part of experiencing joy. We talked about Brené Brown last week, and in her book, Atlas of the Heart, she says, she defines joy as an intense feeling of deep spiritual connection, pleasure, and appreciation. And she says that joy is characterized by a connection with others or with God, nature, or the universe, which God is in all of those things, right? Okay. Therefore, she says, connection is fundamental to experiencing joy. So consider a time when you have experienced deep joy or shallow joy. Who or what did you feel connected to? You know, I once had this office with this big window, and you couldn't see very much out of the window because there's this big hedge. And I always wanted them to take down the hedge until I realized that it was also a bush that hummingbirds loved. And so I would be interrupted regularly by little and the bzzz kind of sound, right? And I would stop whatever I was doing, and I would turn to, my desk was here and the window was here, and I would just turn in anticipation. What little critter had decided to land on my bush, right? But also, it was even more fun if I was in the office with someone else and I could say, hold on, look, right? Because I could share it. Similarly, when I watch the Warriors or any sporting event and I'm at home, I can whoop and holler and yell and I'm super excited, but it's even more fun to cheer loudly and to yell at the refs if there's someone else who's whooping and hollering and yelling alongside of me, right? Sometimes that's even more fun because I can watch the game through the other person's face, right? Or I know when someone has scored because I can hear it. Yeah, there is just something contagious, connectional about joy, about getting to share this excitement with someone else. And that sharing is real. There is something to it. And we see that in our story today. We have these two women connected by pregnancy, connected by kinship, and they are now meeting to share these awesome experiences of God with each other. They are related and they are different. They are connected and they are sharing about their implausible encounters and their intertwined journey. And they go from isolation to community and hopefully from weary to joy. For they are sharing their stories and their weariness together and connecting over this excitement that is bubbling up within them. And may those of us who live in this weary world remember that sharing and connecting can lead to sharing and rejoicing. For all that God is doing, not that the road will be easy, but that the road can be more joyful when we walk it together. We find joy in connection. We find joy in sharing our lives. We find joy in sharing the good news. For no matter how big or how small, God is ready to be born again into our lives. And so may we listen and connect and share our messy, weary lives with each other. And in so doing, may we also experience connection and joy this holiday season. So may it be.